All right, thank you all for stopping in again. I wanted to do a relatively quick update on the Star Citizen news that dropped yesterday about 323 and some of the resets that'll be happening. Up until I get news from CIG that they're actually going to do these things, I don't necessarily um, buy-in that when people say that something's going to get reset, whether it be ships. I've yet to see that. I haven't played for a very long time, so don't get me wrong. It's not like I have a lot of experience with it, but a lot of people say that all the time, and then it appears to not happen that frequently. So I also want to say I do. I appreciate Master Trollius for dropping a note that this news came out. I don't always get a chance to keep up with all the news because I do have a day job and family, so I don't have necessarily all the time and opportunity to catch all the news as it comes out. So I appreciate those that leave a comment and let me know about things that might be coming out or down the line. So we're going to take a look. I wanted to take a look at the ships. I wanted to show really quick. I know the audio is not showing right now. I'm dubbing over it. I just want to have something in the background before we take a look at what they actually said, and then we'll take a look at my spreadsheet. I wanted to kind of go over which ships are the most expensive right now, or sorry, those are going to go up pretty high in price. That hammerhead back there is a good. It was in the back of that video. There was a good little foresight to that. So a little foreshadowing. But yeah, I ultimately want to take a look and see what is going up the most, and so we can kind of take a look at those and try to understand which ships we might want to prio. It'll be up to you on which gameplay loops that you like to have and like to take on, in order which ones you really want to prioritize. But I think it's still good to have a plan, and so that's going to be the biggest thing going into this: having a good plan on which ships you should. So obviously, I'm going to recommend that you buy ships, and so which ships do you want to sink your money into at this point and try out? Obviously, I can respect people again that don't want to have their money reset. So I definitely would recommend not playing the game until it goes live, because obviously that could potentially keep happening. Frustrates me as well, but at the end of the day, that's how the cookie will crumble for now until they get a chance to really lock everything down. So let's take a look at what CIG has to say.
So all of that tees up the question that has, frankly, has dominated the chat since we first started talking about this 5 minutes ago now. Will there be a wipe in 323?
Yes, so we're going to look to wipe Alpha UEC and rentals, I believe. And that's purely because if we don't, all of the analytics that we get back from people playing the game are going to be basically false reports, because people are going to be using all of their banked cash, and it'll just be like, oh, people are just buying all of these now more expensive items, for example. And that then tells us, like, oh, do we need to make these more expensive? No, not really. It's just that people are using giant cash reserves that they've been keeping for a long time. So while it might be disappointing for some people to lose the money they've built up, it really, really helps us in informing us, like, have we made, have we pushed the economy in the right direction, so we can keep making iterations and informed decisions going forward.
So with that being said, I can get behind that sentiment in some regards. And I hate seeing wasted time and work. So in other regards, I hate to see people wasting our time when it comes to playtesting like this and then just resetting it down to zero. In this case, since we're all getting a good of a head start, a little bit of a head start here, a good head start when it comes to having ships ready for the next patch, though. So at least from that perspective, it's not getting totally reset. So if you spend the time now, you can put the time in to get more money, because right now it's more lucrative to get money. So if you get time in now at 322, you can get enough ships, so you're better prepared for 323 as the economy gets nerfed pretty hard, right? So we're going to go through a pretty hefty change in how money's made. They also specifically talked about how they wanted to bring salvage in line, which I knew was coming anyways. I would say it hits the Vulture a little bit harder than other ships, but anyways. So here is a look at the ships. Um, I wanted to focus on this listing here. Isn't necessarily like, oh man, everybody should buy these ships. I just wanted to focus on some of them are that way for me. I picked ships that were from my like fleet listing as ones that I like to have and keep, and then I also picked ones that are a little high, like they're going to be marked here as coming up in price pretty significantly. The price change is pretty significant, so I've tried to highlight that. I don't want to say that these are any particular order. So, for example, a lot of the Vanguards they're going up pretty significantly in price. But if you're not interested in the Vanguard, I'm not saying you should buy it. It's not. This isn't a listing to say, hey, you should buy all of these ships. This listing is to kind of highlight those that are changing in price more significantly than others, as well as including those that are probably more popular. And for me, like my channel, right? So the top two, that Reclaimer and the Vulture, I'm going to highly recommend people buy them now, because they'll be ready for salvaging. Will still be pretty good money. I mean, it's still going to be fairly reassuring money. Like that mission that I showed before, like my guides still kind of stand. She's just making less money per hour based off of the fact that the mission itself got nerfed, but it's still income. Like the missions are still there, last I checked, and so you can still make money from it pretty passively. So if you can make the 1.2 million for the Vulture now, it's still going to be worthwhile buying. With a Reclaimer, it's still going to be a big money maker as far as I can tell. I know there's engineering gameplay coming down the line. I don't know how much that's going to nerf needing more people with some of these ships, but for now, I don't think it's live enough. I think it's all still in the Arena Commander piece, and so it's not live enough to really affect negatively your experience. So, I mean, I don't know how I would even deal with the game if they made the Reclaimer useless for a single player, just because. Like if I want to play, if I want to get on and play for a bit, I shouldn't require me to have a crew or pick up a crew if I want to make some money with a ship that I actually, in this case, sunk a fair amount of money into. I did end up purchasing that ship. So I think it's one of those ships that should be able to make enough money because, again, it has a fairly high cost, both in game and out of game. All right, so looking at the list here, obviously the top of the list here, I am gonna say I'm gonna prio some of these ships. So initially I started this listing by indicating these ships are the ones you should probably target first. I'll definitely still say that with the Reclaimer. I feel like it's still gonna be a good money maker. Like no one's, even though you make half as much money, just say, okay, well each run that people are making, they're making 6 million or something per run or whatever. Okay, you make half of that now. So you make 3 million instead. Like who cares? Like, right? The amount of money that you still make with the Reclaimer is going to be good. Probably, I don't know for the foreseeable future. I don't want to say that, but it's still going to be a good moneymaker. So if you can get that 15 million, that's asking a lot, but that's still significantly less than the 31 million that it's going to cost now. It's going to be over 110% more. It's going to be twice as much, plus an extra 10% on top of that. So we're looking at a pretty significant increase on that particular ship. Vulture, same kind of story. That's going up by 100% as well. So if you don't have the Vulture now, you can quickly do about 6 of my missions for the Hammerhead, where you go in and take a look at my guide on how to make a million per hour or so. Those guides are there, and as far as I know, they still work. And matter of fact, they still work in 323. It's just the missions have been nerfed themselves. So at any rate, take a look at that to buy the Vulture. If you want to buy the Vulture, again, it'll make less money, but it'll still be making money that you don't have to like deliver boxes or something. It's still a fairly good starter way to make money. C2, kind of the same story there. It's also a good way. Now, the problem with the C2 that I foresee is that I don't think the freight missions are in yet. So if you got the C2 now, when you start on day one with little to no money, you'd have to make that money first before you can start trading. You know what I'm saying? Like you would have to actually have money and to invest in trading. So it's a hard. I say you get the C2. If you can get the C2, if you wanted to get your starter ship and just the C2, you'd have to find a way to make money first. So maybe you do really like high volume, low cost trading initially, like trash runs or something. I don't know. I haven't done enough freight, but I have enough money. I can do big trade runs like gold runs and stuff, or other large C2, whole C runs. So I don't have a lot of way I can give people a lot of guidance there because I use my current money to make more money. You need to make it in order. You need to have it in order to make it. Unfortunately, with the way that freight it works, unless I'm missing something here, but generally speaking, with the freight like the C2, if you want to have just your starter ship and a C2 again, you're going to have to find a way to make enough money to start doing running with the C2. You have to be able to invest in the freight you need now in order to make money, which is a shame. But that's the way I see it now. Again, I say spending 5 million is significantly less than the almost 300% that it's going to go up. So almost 4 times the value, right? So you're looking at almost 5 million now. It's going to go closer to 20 million. So 4 million. I got 4% there, 4 times. So at any rate, it's a significant increase. So if you can buy it now, that's ideal. Honestly, again, going back to my making millions, it would just take a couple hours for you to farm that out in the current state of the game, the current patch 322. So if you do that, great. Again, A2, similar story. It has less freight. You can see there's significantly fewer SCUs. So that's gonna be one of those ones, just like the 890 jump we're gonna talk about. Those two are like nice to haves. If you have the money now to spend it, go for it. If you really want it, again, spend as much time as you want in game and buy whatever you want. It's your life. But obviously, you don't necessarily want to prio having an A2. I can't think of a good gameplay loop for either one of those two, the A2 or the 890 jump, where you can make back the money that you're going to get out of it by having that ship. The Reclaimer obviously with the Reclaimer right now in game, and I think it will stand that way as well. With the Reclaimer, you can make back that money pretty quickly in game. Again, even with the nerfs that are coming up, you'd be able to make it within a few hours. So I don't think money should be done in hours. It should probably be done in days, like most games. You don't. It's kind of crazy how much money you can actually make in this particular game. So I like to see the hourly piece because I want to see people up and running and enjoying the game. But at the same time, I can also respect how it probably needs to be days that you're able to farm for a ship and not like hours, right? It shouldn't be in the hours. It should probably be based on how many missions you can do and stuff, so you can get a ship within a number of days and not just in hours of gameplay. That doesn't make the game longevity very good. So A2, 890, I'm saying are the same kind of boat here. The 890 goes up pretty significantly, but it's only twice as much, which again, relatively speaking, only twice as much is pretty high when it's 32 million, but relatively speaking, it's not going up so astronomically high that it's pretty unobtainium anyways. And so if you're close to it and you want to get it, I would obviously get it now before the reset. And so just if you want to prio doing that, if you have the money to do it, again, that's another ship like the A2 where it doesn't have any gameplay loops. You can really look at the SCUs, like 32 SCUs. You can't make that money back. Like that's not going to be a money maker for you. Maybe you let someone rent it, like you give people rides in it or something, and then like charge them a fee. But shy of that, like there's no way to actually make money back on that. I have the mole in here, so the mole and the prospector. Both those two go up a little bit, not significantly. So if you want to prio that, you want to do some mining, feel free. It's just kind of a reminder for those. They're not highlighted anyway because they're not going up any significant value. I just want to show as ships that I have on my list of fleet ships because I'd want to be able to have the opportunity to do mining. I didn't put ground vehicles in here, but some of those are going, not some, most of them are going up significantly. So if you want a ground vehicle like a ballista or something, I would do it now because again, those go up, but I wanted to focus on the ships so you can fly currently. So the Caterpillar goes up actually quite a bit here. Again, due to the price, it's interesting to see that the price between it and the Whole Sea are still relatively similar. They're too close because when you compare the two, having an extra over 100 extra SCUs of trading capability and a ship that flies better, like the Caterpillar is really getting a kind of a raw deal here. So it's going up too significant. As I say, rather significantly, but too significantly considering the fact that the Whole Sea is better, or the C2, sorry, is better in so many other ways. It's unfortunate because I like the Caterpillar. I mean, I do have it and I do like it, and I occasionally like taking it out for a spin. But until maybe modularity or other things that are God knows when they're come out, it's hard to justify that particular one. Whole Sea, a similar story here as the Caterpillar. I mean, it's another good ship, but it's fairly unique on the freight capabilities and the Constellation Taurus. So all of these next four, so the Caterpillar, Whole Sea, Constellation Taurus, the Whole A, all of them are a similar story that I have with the C2, which is again, you need to have money to invest in freight currently in order to make money. So when you get to start back at zero, it's going to be a hard sell to say any of those ships you should necessarily spend a whole lot of money into because you're going to have a hard time making money initially because you need money in order to make money. So that's kind of a hard sell for those, but I think they're good to have. I always kind of thought the Whole A would be cool to go with the Vulture as well. Like maybe I think I've mentioned this before, but the concept of like going out in the Whole A first, throwing all the boxes of from the salvage ship onto the Whole A, taking that back, selling it first, and then taking the Vulture out there and finish scraping the ship and salvaging it is kind of an interesting idea, but it is quite a bit of work just when you can have the reclaimer, they can do both those things at the same time. So, yeah, and price wise, I mean, you're saving a lot if you have both of those too. But you could do some freight running as well with it, do some cargo runnings. But at the end of the day, all of these ships here, they're good to have. So if you want to pick, again, I would go with the C2. But if you want to pick one of these particular freight runners or the cargo ships, feel free to do that. Constellation Taurus is interesting as well because you can do some quite, as far as I understand, you can do quite a bit of bounty hunting with it. I mean, I've done a little bit of that, but I haven't been focused enough on it. That usually with the bounty hunting, I just do it for fun. I don't necessarily do it to get the cargo out of it. I'm just not doing that high level of the bounty hunting. Corsair and the 600i, the Scorpion, the Connie, that goes back to the Connie Taurus and the Connie Andromeda. So Ares in here. So the next few that are in here are really based around what kind of ships you might want to have for some of the bigger bounty hunting missions. So if you want to focus on some of those, you can see here the 600i goes up pretty high in price, and so does the original Connie. So you want to take a look at those. The really 600i is the harder one the higher one to highlight here. So if you had your eye on that one, it being 10 million right now is significantly better than being 30 million. So it's something that you want to take a look at and try to decide if you want to purchase that. Same thing with Ares. They're going to be the same price still, which I like. And they're not going up very significantly, but it's still high enough. They're still 50% more than what they are currently. So yeah, take a look at this listing again. Focus on, and it's kind of same with the Vanguard. All of these ships, it depends on what you want to do when the new patch comes out. Again, bounty hunting is still going to be popular, and so figure out what ships you want to bounty hunting in. Do bounty hunting in. Maybe you can do some of that testing now by buying the ships. But again, I think if you get the reclaimer, you could probably still buy all of these ships. It's just going to take a little bit more time than it takes now to purchase them. So there's the Valkyrie. I like the Valkyrie. I just highlighted it here because it's going up in price pretty significantly. It's going to go up over 5 million. Sorry, 15 million. 5 million. I wish only 5 million. 15 million. I don't know why. I just like the Valkyrie. I don't know why they're like getting it to go up that high. It's kind of crazy because it just doesn't do much. So it's unfortunate to see that they're making that more expensive. Carrick is going up a little bit, not a whole lot. So I don't know. I just have that here because again, it's one of the ships that I kind of have in my fleet. But there isn't really a need to prio that. If you want to get it now, you can. You'll save a little bit of money. It's kind of like the eight. Well, it's not quite like the 890. It's actually cheaper than the 890. So it's okay if you want to buy it later because the price isn't going up that much higher. But if you want to buy it, obviously buy it now if you've been saving up for that specifically. The M2, similar story to the above with the C2 and stuff. It's going up pretty high. It's going to be significantly more than just the C2. So that's another like transport ship. The drop ships and the transport ships that are going up in price for almost no reason at all. It's kind of crazy. I'm not sure what the idea is there. So it's going up pretty significantly in price. It's almost going to be 5 times as much, 6 times as much. It's almost 6 times as much. That's pretty. It's pretty high. The Vanguards, again, we've already talked about these a little bit, but they're going to be varying amounts of going up here. So if you like the Vanguards, I would definitely obviously recommend buying. That's the only reason I highlight them here is because I don't necessarily say that someone should buy one of these Vanguard ships, but if you want to buy them, now is the time to buy them because when the patch comes out, they're going to all go up pretty significantly in price. Some to the tune is almost, 5 times as much, almost 6 times as much. So it's a pretty significant story. So you're at 2K here, you're going to be pretty close to 12K. So it's almost 6 times as much. So it's pretty hefty amount. They're all less than 5 times as much, but no, they're all over 5 times as much here. This is over 5 times as much here. But yeah, pretty significant increases on all the Vanguards. So if you like one of them, buy it now. Hammerhead, same kind of story here. I just noted it because it's coming up. It's going to be going up pretty hefty in price here, almost 4 times as much. So it's one of those things where you want to probably get into it now if you want to have it. But again, I'm not a big fan of it. I did buy it. I have that. I'm going to have quite a few of these ships. I'm going to spend the rest of my money, right, to buy the rest of these ships. Why not? Because there's no reason to keep the money because it's going to get reset. So at the end of the day, looking at stuff like the Hammerhead, it's fun to have for when you have a crew of multiple people. Otherwise, it's fairly useless if you're just flying solo. Yeah, that's looking at the list of ships we have here. I want to thank you all for taking the time to come in and take a look at this. Here's the complete list again. I have a separate video on that, but I wanted to really highlight those that really had this price change that was relatively high. And so we can take a look at those that need to be purchased ahead of. Alternatively, the C8R, don't buy it because it's going to be cheaper later. So I happen to have this one. This is my starter ship that I ended up upgrading to. I'll probably end up. I kind of want to trade it in. Same story or hover quad here. So there's a few that the cutter as another one supposedly going down in price as well. So there's some instances where you can save some money. So don't buy them now. Although both the rocks are coming down too, which is cool. Pretty significantly actually. A little over 100,000 for 104 for the regular rock, and then the rock DS is a bit more. And the only difference is the amount of SCUs that are carry when it does the mining. I think that's the only difference. I mean, there may be other differences too, but those are the ones I'm really focused on. Razor and similar. I thought that was only for racing. At any rate, yeah. So a few changes in here. All in all, not a whole lot going on except for just prices going up and the amount of income going to be changing as well. I look forward to still probably trying to come up with a good user guide on making money. I just got to figure out what that is going to be because right now it's not looking super great. What I've come up with so far continues to hold strong and still works, but it's just going to be a lot less money just due to the fact that the mission's already been nerfed. Thank y'all for coming in, take a look, and thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any other video ideas and I need to look into, and I can put them together. And thanks for stopping in, for liking and subscribing. I'll see you guys next time.